Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Top 5 Fridays. DBougie86 here again. And this topic of the week is, of course, meta horror films. Uh, that means is these horror films have either they're self-aware of what they are and they use references from other horror films and use it to their advantage, and also they have a message that's hidden within the film that has to do with like filmmaking styles and techniques like that. That's the type of meta horrors that I really enjoy. Perfect example is Scream, which I will spoil for you guys is not going to be in my top five because for the major fact that Scream is a great, amazing film. And I decided to, like show off a few lesser known ones on this top five, ones that I do enjoy because of like the brilliance of Scream and what Scream did for the horror genre. Of course, it would probably make this list, but do I watch Scream all the time? No, that's what I mean. I'm not saying I hate Scream by any means. When you see my top five choices, I just wanted to give some recognition to some five lesser known slash these might be known, but other films that I do enjoy watching that uh, think that people should check out, pretty much. So yeah, let's start off. Number five, we have horror comedy, ironically, and it's a very enjoyable one. I have to say that's Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Uh, First time I saw this, I didn't know what to expect from it. But this is actually brilliantly written. The way that they use the characters of Tucker and Dale within this film, switch like like the stereotypical like backwoods hillbilly slasher types, and the way that the kills do happen in this film are fucking hilarious. There's one scene that involves like a wood chipper that is just brilliantly written, and you see like the point of view of like the other like victims and stuff, and they think Tucker and Dale are actually killing these people, but they're really not. They're trying to actually save them, and they just end up dying in like a bad luck situation. So I think that's really funny the way that they did this film, and it's just a very brilliantly done horror comedy in my opinion. Super fun, and the characters of Dale are brilliantly portrayed by Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, who just do a tremendous job in their roles, and very fun, super fun film. If you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, I highly recommend it. Next up is a very controversial pick because I know this film is not for everyone. I heard a lot of mixed opinions on it. And the reason why I think this film gets a lot of hate is because of the way it's done. But it's done for a simplified reason of the message of the film. And that, of course, is Rubber. Yes, this one's a very odd one, I have to say. But the way that this one is done is pretty much the gist is, this is a film that has a hidden message between it about, like, the lack of originality and, like, Hollywood. And they use that to their advantage by making a movie about a killer tire. And you see that in like the whole open scene of this film. Like they talk about certain aspects of like different like horror movies and situations in movies in general. And then it gets into like this ridiculous story about a killer tire. And yeah, it's a super interesting film, and I understand why people would hate this one, but I highly enjoyed this film because of its hidden message. I got the idea of what the filmmaker was trying to do with this film from the very get-go. And just some fun performances. Like, we have Wings Hauser in this film, and Roxanne and Moscata, who's a goddess in my opinion. I love her and everything I've seen her in. She's extremely beautiful. And, Rubber is what it is. I know it's like a love-hate film with a lot of people, but I am one of the fans of this film, and it's I think if you know what the message of this film is, it makes a little more sense of what's going on within the plot. You know what I'm saying? Because this is pretty much the director attacking Hollywood's originality, because of like this time period when this film came out, we were getting like remakes of horror classics, and pretty much generic like story plots and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's what pretty much like the gist of this film is about. Like trying to make something original, but having fun with it and having fun with the idea of Hollywood coming up with ridiculous like fucking stories like Rubber. You know what I mean? So yeah, I enjoy Rubber for what it is. You know what I mean? It's a film with a hidden message, and like I said, it's very art housey, but it's still enjoyable. So that's why it's a number 4 for me, personally. Number 3 is a film that I know this one also has a lot of mixed opinions because of like its backstory and like certain aspects of it, because of it has CGI within it. But I enjoy it. I'm not like a hater of CGI. It's like that time period where I can accept it for what it is, especially the way it does, because this film does have like a lot of cool practical effects within it also, and mixed with like the CGI shit, and it gets full-blown CGI at the very end. But I still enjoy it for what it is, and that of course is Cabin in the Woods. This film is directed by Drew Goodward, who wrote the screenplay for Cloverfield, and he also wrote a few episodes of Buffy, which makes sense because he co-wrote this with Joss Whedon, of course, who created Buffy. What can I say about Cabin in the Woods? It's just a brilliantly devised like story, especially using like, I don't want to really give like the whole plot of this movie away, because if somebody hasn't seen it, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this film, but for the viewers that haven't seen it or were like kind of skeptical on it because it has like Chris Hemsworth, and then, yeah, I know, yeah, he's not for everyone, but you know, the way that they like mix like horror like tropes within it, like I'll give one example away for this film. Pretty much they have like the stereotypical like slasher motifs, like like the jock and like the virgin and the slutty girl and like the nerd, like the typical like slasher tropes mixed in with like other horror elements. Like there's a lot of shout outs to other horror films within this film, especially even like J-horror. There's a whole like little section of this film that involves like a J-horror skit, which I actually kind of respect the directors that know that much about like horror, and they love horror, and you could tell that within this film. And some little cool cameos. My favorite performances of this film are Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, who play the two like like the two guys that look like office buddies, and they're about to do their job, and when you find out what their job is, and it's kind of funny, and just the interactions between those two are fucking hilarious within the film. So yeah, I really enjoy Cabin in the Woods, man. It's a fucking awesome trip. So that's why it's at number 3. Number 2 is a film that when I first heard about it, I'm like, really? And I know the history of this film personally because I used to watch the show Project Greenlight, and I knew that this was being made, and I remember this was like the horror episode season of Project Greenlight, which was a show created by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck back when after they got successful with Good Will Hunting, they decided we're going to make a show where we're going to give another writer a chance to get his film out there like their film did. And this season we had Wes Craven involved, and the way that they did it was they actually they got writers, plural, because I'll talk about the writers in a second, and a director involved within the film. And that, of course, is Feast. The director of this film is John Gulager, who is Coogler's son. And this was his first film. And the writers of this film are Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. If you don't know, that sounds familiar for you. They went on to write a lot of the Saw sequels. I believe after 3, 4 through like 7 was written by them. And they went on, Marcus Dunstan, and went on to direct The Collector and The Collection, the 2 Collector films, which were also written with him and Patrick Melton. So, yeah, this is like the first thing that they worked together. I know they do have sequels to these, and I'm kind of like, I like some aspects of the sequels, but they are more low budget, and you could tell that when you're watching them. But the first piece I love, man. Like, fucking, just like the aspects of like they the way that this one's very meta is they play with like you know, like the typical like, you know, surviving motifs of this one. Like they have like this whole beginning sequence where this person will live till the end, this person will fucking uh die in the first 10 minutes of the movie, they don't have no life. And then it flips it and surprises the fuck out of you with what happens with the plot, and like that whole like beginning sequence where they talk about each character. And it's kind of funny that they did that, but very fun creature feature. The effects are awesome. Henry Rollins, cool Gallagher, fucking even Tretch from Naughty by Nature's in this movie. Super fun in this fucking awesome ride. I really enjoy Feast. Super awesome movie. I fucking love it. If you haven't seen Feast, I highly recommend it. And at number one, we have a film that is a French film. It's one that was recommended to me for years, and I love it. And it's very reminiscent of like what would be like. This is like Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask before Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask. It's one that I enjoyed the aspects of it, and that is Man Bites Dog. Pretty much this talks about like the way that this film progresses is like a filmmaker's new to reality with like making a film, and it's about these two documentaries following the serial killer around while he's actually killing people. Very tough film to watch in some aspects. There's some fucking brutal shit in this one, man, and that's a great story, and it's all in black and white, and just a fun ride if you're a fan of like French cinema and you know, like fucking other things like that. And you can see like the message of this film is progressing. And it's been done, like I said, after this with like Behind the Mask, Leslie Vernon, and numerous other like types of movies like this. Found footage style, I believe, because it's about documentaries. They're actually filming this guy. Fucking awesome shit. Man Bites Dog at number one. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of Top 5 Fridays. Like I said, you never know what we're gonna do, another more meta. But as always, check the other guys' links down below that I do this series with. And as always, guys, I'll see you next week. Peace out.